Okay.
Welcome to another episode of Makeup and Mystery Monday with your hosts Annika O'Brien and Monday. This time, we're talking about the mysterious disappearance of a man who walked into a bar on March 31st, 2006 and never came out.
Sorry. Every time we start recording, my reef tank kicks on. So, it's loud. Yes, so we walked into a bar and he never walked out. So today's makeup look is inspired by what I would wear if I was going out to a bar when I was in college, because I believe he was in college at the time. And I never went out when I was in college because I was not cool. And yeah, so if I did wear makeup in college and if I did get invited out with all the cool kids, what would my makeup look have been if I had knowledge? Because I fear that I would have not done a very good job.
This is the mystery of the disappearance of Brian Shaffer. Shaffer grew up in Pinkerton, Ohio, a suburb of Columbus, where Ohio State University is located. He is the older of Randy and Renee Shaffer's two sons. He graduated from the local high school in 1997 and went to OSU for his undergraduate work. 6 years later, he graduated with a degree in microbiology. Following that, he began studies at Ohio State University College of Medicine in 2004. During his second year there in March 2006, his mother, Renee, died of myelodysplasia. His friends say that although he appeared to be handling it well, her death was hard for him. Renee was not the only woman important in Brian's life. He had become romantically involved with a fellow second-year medical student, Alexis Wagner. For a second,
Wagner?
I thought it said warmonger, but I misread that. She, along with their families and friends, believed that Brian would probably be proposing marriage to her later that year. Most likely on a trip to Miami, the couple had planned for spring break at the beginning of April.
Do you hear someone on like a megaphone outside? Give me a second. So some dumb lady pulled over and is having a phone conversation over Bluetooth so effing loud that you can hear it all through the neighborhood. I thought it was police. That's how loud it is. I could hear her entire conversation. She's like arguing with a guy over Bluetooth in her car and all of her windows are up. Are we still recording? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Yeah, so don't ever do that, guys. I see that all the time in parking lot. Well, not anymore because I never leave the house, but back in Normalville, I would see that all the time, either at a red light or in a parking lot where somebody's sitting there having a conversation and you get to hear all the details of their life and you're like, turn down the volume or wear headphones or something, like one headphone so it's not oh God, it's annoying. I thought the police were outside. I seriously thought, oh crap, that sounds like the cops. I go out there, no, just some dumb lady who doesn't know how to turn down the volume on her Bluetooth. We can hear it all the way into our house. Anyway, commence with the story. I'll try to be more positive.
So we were at the part where Brian had proposed, or they were expecting Brian to propose to his girlfriend Alexis during a trip to Miami the couple had planned on spring break at the beginning of April. Tropical locations such as Miami were attractive to Brian. He liked the relaxed lifestyles. He told his friends that despite his decision to pursue a medical career, his real ambition was to start a band playing music in the vein of Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, that's nice. So, stepped on a or stepped on a pop top, blew up my flip flop. That song. That's like the only line of that. Searching for my lost shaker of salt. Anyway, yeah, tell me about it.
On March 31st, a Friday, classes at OSU ended for spring break the next week. Brian and Randy Shaffer, his father, celebrated the occasion by going out for a steak dinner together earlier that evening. Randy noted that his son seemed exhausted from having pulled all-nighters earlier in the week cramming for some important upcoming exams. He did not think Brian should go out with a friend, William Clint Florence.
Oh, and he did not know how right he was.
Later that night, as he planned to do, but did not express his reservations to his son. At 9 p.m., Brian met Florence at the Ugly Tuna Saloon, a bar in the South Campus Gateway complex on High Street. An hour later, Brian called Wagoner, that's his girlfriend. She had returned to her home in Toledo to visit with her family before she and Brian were due to depart for Miami. He and Florence went bar hopping, visiting several other drinking establishments, and working their way down to the Arena District. At each stop, the two had one shot each of hard liquor, according to Florence. After midnight...
Real quick, sorry. Was his girlfriend present? My brain is still on this lady outside with the car thing. Was his girlfriend? Okay, so his girlfriend was not present. Okay, that was the part that I missed. He just went out with a friend. Okay.
After midnight, the two...
After midnight. Sorry, now that song's stuck in my head. Nothing, it's a song. So anyway, after midnight,
Brian and Florence, his friend. The two met Meredith Reed, a friend of Florence, in the short north. She gave them a ride back to the Ugly Tuna Saloon where they had started the night and joined them there for a last round. While the three were there, Brian separated from his companions. Florence and Reed had been trying to find him, repeatedly calling him. They left with other patrons when the bar closed at 2 a.m., waiting outside for Brian. When he was not among the departing crowd, they assumed he had gone back to his apartment without letting them know. Wagoner, that's his girlfriend, and Randy Shaffer, that's his father, both tried to call Brian later that week, but he did not answer. On Monday morning, he missed the flight to Miami he and Wagoner had scheduled long before. He was then reported missing to the Columbus police. Police began their search for Brian at the Ugly Tuna, the bar where he had last been seen. Since the area around South Campus Gateway was somewhat blighted with a high crime rate, the bar had installed security cameras. They reviewed the footage, which showed Brian, Florence, and Reed going up an escalator to the bar's main entrance at 1:15 a.m. Brian was seen outside of the bar at around 1:55 a.m., talking briefly with two young women and saying goodbye, then moving off camera in the direction of the bar, apparently to re-enter. The camera did not record him leaving shortly afterwards when the Ugly Tuna closed. That was the last time he was seen.
It's a weird name for a bar. Sorry, not to cut you off. The Ugly Tuna?
It was possible, investigators realized, that he could have changed his clothes in the bar or put on a hat and kept his head down, hiding his face from the camera. The cameras might also have missed him. One panned across the area constantly, and the other was operated manually. He might have also left the building by another route. However, the building's only other exit, a service door not generally used by the public, opened at the time onto a construction site that officers believed would have been difficult to walk through while sober, much less intoxicated, as Brian likely was at this time. Since Columbus had the most security cameras of any city in Ohio, more than Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Toledo combined, officers next looked to the footage from other bars to see if cameras there could explain how Brian had left the Ugly Tuna. However, footage from cameras at 3 other nearby bars showed no trace of Brian. The search began to fan out from the Ugly Tuna, with officers, sometimes accompanied by police dogs, looking closely in the street, inspecting dumpsters and other waste containers, and asking residents if they had seen him. Flyers of Brian's picture, showing a tattoo on his upper right arm of a stick figure logo from the cover artwork for the single of Alive by Pearl Jam, one of his favorite bands, and noting a distinctive fleck in one of his irises, were posted widely. The police even persuaded the city to let them into the sewer system and search there. No useful information was uncovered. At Brian's apartment on King Avenue, 6 blocks from the Ugly Tuna, his car was still parked outside. Inside, nothing appeared amiss. After searching miles away from the bar in every direction, police began to consider other possibilities besides an accident or foul play. Since his mother had recently died, it was speculated that he had gone away temporarily to grieve in solitude. Yet his disappearance proved permanent. No evident reasons appeared for him voluntarily disappearing. Those who had seen Brian that evening, including his father, were asked to take lie detector tests. Reed and Randy Shaffer passed theirs, as did reportedly all the others, while Florence refused. Florence is the friend he went out with.
Yeah. Real quick, the polygraph is not guaranteed, just for anybody out there. Crazy, like psychopaths, I think, or sociopaths.
It's not. You can't put it into court because it's not.
Yeah, but it's a good. It can help you. It can put the police on a trail. So if somebody shows, like if his father would have shown to have deception around questions that pertain to his disappearance, that would at least put them on a trail to maybe his father did it, and then so it's just used as like
it's a method of
sussing tool, as opposed to that as well, as opposed to it being like, that doesn't mean none of those people were involved, just for anybody out there, that just in case.
The 2 women Brian had last been seen talking to were later identified. They said in 2009 that they had never been asked to take one themselves, a polygraph themselves. Wagoner, Brian's girlfriend, called Brian's phone every evening before going to bed for a long time after the disappearance. Usually it went to voicemail, but one night in September it actually rang 3 times. I kept calling it to hear it purely because it was one of the best sounds I've ever heard, even if no one picked up, she wrote on her MySpace page. Singular, Brian's wireless provider, said what Wagoner heard may have been due to a computer glitch. A ping from the phone was detected at a cell tower in Hillard, 14 miles northwest of Columbus. The police received many tips, none of which resulted in any breakthroughs in the case. At a Pearl Jam concert later that year in Cincinnati, lead singer Eddie Vedder took time between songs to ask for tips on Brian's disappearance, but none of those were useful either. Possible sightings in Michigan, Texas, and even Sweden were investigated. Randy Shaffer, that's Brian's father, who had recently suffered the death of his wife, continued the search for his son on his own. A psychic he consulted told him Brian's body was in water near a bridge pier. He and Derek, Brian's brother, along with some other citizens who had become interested in the case, bought waters, and spent much of their free time along the shores of the Olentangy River, which flows through Columbus adjacent to the OSU campus, searching in vain for the body near bridges. This possibility also led police to briefly consider the heavily disputed Smiley Face murder theory. Brian Shaffer, under this theory, would be the killer's only victim whose body had not yet been found. Columbus police eventually rejected any connection to the alleged killer in Brian's case, following the lead of most law enforcement agencies, including the Federal Bureau of Investigations, that have looked into it. In September 2008, during a heavy windstorm in central Ohio, Randy Shaffer, Brian's father, was out in the yard of his Baltimore home clearing debris. A branch blew off from a nearby tree and fatally struck him. Neighbors found his body the next morning and called police. Yes, so his mother died, he disappeared, is likely dead. His father died, so that leaves that one brother left.
Oh my gosh.
That poor brother.
Yeah, he's like Keanu Reeves. Really, like everyone in Keanu Reeves' life that he cared about just kept dying. Oh, that's so sad.
After his obituary ran online, Brian's father's obituary, a condolence book was posted. One of the signatures in it said, "To Dad, love Brian, U.S. Virgin Islands." This suggested Brian might have left Columbus for a new life elsewhere.
What?
However, upon further investigation, the note was found to have been posted from a computer accessible to the public in Franklin County. It was determined to be a hoax.
Yeah, that's mean. Yeah, we have some other hoax stories that we'll be covering, and I totally jacked up my eyeliner situation. I don't know what I'm doing. I need to start over, but I'm canceling this eye. I don't know what I did. I can't do eyeliner. It's not my thing. Okay.
Shortly after Randy Shaffer's death, Neil Rosenberg, attorney for Clint Florence, wrote to Don Corbett, a private investigator who has volunteered his time to help the Shaffer family find Brian regarding his client's ongoing refusal to take a lie detector test. Rosenberg intimated that he had learned that the Columbus police investigating the case believed Brian was alive. In April 2009, The Lantern, Ohio State student newspaper, disclosed the exchange. If Brian is alive, which is what I'm led to believe after speaking to the detective involved, then it is Brian and not Clint Florence who is causing his family pain and hardship, Rosenberg wrote. Brian should come forward and end this. Florence, he said, did not have anything to hide. He had merely told everything he knew from the beginning and did not see the value of doing so again. Rosenberg's assertions notwithstanding, many of those who were close to Brian have criticized Florence for not being forthcoming enough. As soon as the detective started getting involved, that's when he pretty much had no contact with anybody, recalled Derek Shaffer, Brian's brother and last surviving immediate family member. I've always thought he definitely knows something, just won't come forward with it. He believes it is still possible that Brian is alive and Florence knows where he might have gone. If Brian did take off somewhere, if that is the case, we just always had a strong feeling that Clint would possibly know that, he said. Shaffer's girlfriend at the time, Alexis Wagoner, also thinks that Florence is withholding information. However, she believes that it's likely her former boyfriend is dead and did not run off. I can't imagine that he would have just done that, she said.
Yeah. I think that she would probably know him best, and if that just doesn't seem, I mean, if there had been any proof that he had, like, say, another girlfriend or something going on, maybe drug use, I don't know, but I've heard enough of these weird disappearance stories that the times that they question it are usually when there's reason, right, to believe that they could have had a oh my god, that lady's out of her car now talking right near me. Oh my gosh.
In 2014, the Columbus police said they were still receiving at least 2 tips a month on the case via the local Crime Stoppers hotline, though none have proven useful. The evidence in the case filled 4 boxes of files. One of the original investigators, Andre Edwards, told Columbus Monthly that after extensive review of the camera footage at the Ugly Tuna from the night Brian disappeared, which was intended to rule out the idea that Brian could have left in disguise, he could say with 100% certainty that Brian did not leave via the escalator. Police say they have 3 theories about the case, but decline to discuss them, even generally with the magazine.
They decline to discuss their theories? You'd think that would help, because if they, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to.
There's actually a term for this. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, where they don't release certain things because there's certain things that only the criminal would know.
Yeah, exactly. No, I understand that part, but the theories about how. So, yeah, wow, that's crazy. So there's footage there. We verified that he had entered the bar. Okay, so that is verified. So because that was the very first thing I thought was that maybe he never went, and maybe they need to question the friend who is lying about him ever showing up in the first place. I think I fixed my problem mostly with Shape Tape.
I suspect one possibility is that he did leave the back entrance and was going through the construction site. I don't know what the construction site looked like at the time, but especially if there were deep holes in there that he could have fallen into, you'd think they would investigate that, because it being a missing person, possibly dead. But is it possible that he fell into some hidden spot in that site while intoxicated? Died?
You'd think they would have smelled it, because a human body. I mean, I've heard enough stories.
Well, depending on what was happening at the construction site, maybe it was covered over with concrete. But you would think that the police would order them to stop doing construction.
Exactly. And they would have been able to say, oh, hey, by the way, we dumped a bunch of concrete over here, fresh. They could have used ultrasound technology to look under the ground, or under like the fresh dirt. Oh my gosh. No, that's a crazy story. What do you guys think happened? I have a weird, I think the thing is he had no, from what we've read, he had no motive to disappear. It's not like a bank was recently robbed and he was the main suspect. things like that. He didn't take anything with him, which that's really weird. Even when people even when unstable people leave, there's usually some kind of clue that they took off. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree that the running off to a new life theory doesn't really make much sense. I don't think that adds up at all.
Because if he wanted a new life, all he had to do was propose to her, and then he'd have it. Right? If he just wanted to change it up. But yeah, what do you think? I don't know. It's we may never know, but I am wearing green eyeshadow. So Brian disappeared from a bar. What year was that?
2006.
So Brian disappeared from a bar 14 years ago and has not been found. And there have been hoaxes to imply that he ran away to the islands, but we'll never know. If you find Brian, please call your local non-emergency. And
so let us know your theories in the comment section below. And if you have there's any cases that you want us to cover, also let us know.
Yeah. Oh, and I guess a moral of the story is don't talk with your Bluetooth on in your car unless you want everyone to hear your conversation. All right.